ngira ngo mpere ku ingingo yo kuvuga ubuhamya Minisitiri Bizimana yatugejejeho. Hari ubundi buhamya burebure burimo amateka akomeye Theoneste n'amaze kutugezaho. Ibyo twumvise byose bifite aho bishingiye, ni ukuri bafite uko babihakana cyangwa babihakanya, ngira ngo bafite akazi gakomeye kugira ngo uhindure amateka nk'ayo y'abantu nk'abandi. Mwaramutse neza mwese, uyagire uko ushaka, yaba mu gihugu hano byaba hanze, cyane cyane bakunze guhindura aya mateka yacu ku mpamvu zitandukanye. Ibi rero ngira ngo bafite ibyo bazahangana nabyo kugira ngo abantu bahindure amateka nk'aya bayavuga ukundi. Ariko icyo navuga nk'ibyo Theoneste yavuze, ibihe byo birahinduka, ibihe byarahindutse. Nta uzongera gupfa nk'uko Theoneste yabivugaga n'abapfuye, cyangwa nawe uko yapfuye. Buriya yarapfuye, kuba ariho ni nko kuzuka, ariko nta wakongera gupfa kuriya. Impamvu kandi mu zindi nyinshi, ntabwo wakwica umuntu kabiri. Ubigerageje azakwica mbere yo kumwica. Ubwo turi aha mutureba, bamwe bajya bashinyagura bavugira hanze. Igihugu cyose, igihugu cy'u Rwanda ureba, ntabwo gishobora gupfa kabiri. Mbere y'uko wakwica u Rwanda ruzakwica. Ntabwo wakwica abantu kabiri, ntibibaho. Tureba aha ntabwo twapfa kabiri. Ari twe bakuru, ari abana bacu, ntawe uzabica kabiri, ntibishoboka, ntabwo byakunda. Tuzabaho nk'uko abantu bakwiriye kuba babaho, nk'uko abandi abo ari bo bose babaho, byanze bikunze. Ntawe twabisaba kubaho, ntawe. Uko mbivuze,
urumuri
mwaramutse neza mwese.
Amateka yacu turayazirikana kandi tuzayarinda twibuke twiyubaka.
Nyakubaha President Republicana.
Your Excellency, is a place where we're going to light the flame of remembrance, a sign of hope and resilience of the Rwandans over the last 32 years. Please step forward.
Uru.
Mwisi igenda yihuta ingenzi cyane di Company Limited bafite serivisi zitandukanye harimo kwigisha imodoka, amategeko y'umuhanda, gukodesha imodoka mu buryo bwa sans chauffeur. Si ibyo gusa tubafitiye itorero ribyina kinyarwanda ndetse no kubyigisha by'umwihariko ku bana batoya. Ingenzi cyane di Company Limited dukorera i Nyamirambo mu biryogo ku musigiti wa Onatracom. Ku bindi bisobanuro waduhamagara kuri nimero uri kubona kuri screen yawe. Ingenzi cyane di Company Limited will make everything possible.
Amazi niyo yaradutunze nayo bayakuraho. Twasigaye rero tunywa ikiziba, imvura nk'iyi yahita tukajyaho ibiziba byaretse tukagotomera tukagira iminsi yo kubaho kubera amazi twanyoye. Twabayeho ngaho mu buzima bugoye, tubana n'uwo mupadiri witwa Amategeko, na n'ubu ntiyemera icyaha. Akirirwa aragiye inka ari kuvumbura abantu bihishe mu mashyamba aho ngaho, yabona utarabutse ugiye gushaka icyo kurya akagutanga bakakwica. Igihe cyarageze rero baza gufata icyemezo cyo kudukusanya. Abatutsi bose barokotse muri Cyangugu baradukusanya batujyana ahantu bita Nyarushishi. Ntabwo bari bagiye kudukiza mu by'ukuri. Nyarushishi yari centre batwegeranyirijemo kugira ngo bazabone uko batwica, ndetse bavugaga ko ngo bazaturenza ku mubyeyi, ngo nibashyingura Habyarimana nibwo bazatwica nyuma ngo batworose umubyeyi. Tujya Nyarushishi. Nyarushishi nimvuga Nyarushishi ni umusozi utabaho inzu, ni umusozi n'ahantu hatari ubuzima, nta mazi, haba imbeho nyinshi. Baragenda abavuye Ishangi, abavuye kuri stade, abavuye Imibirizi, abavuye ku Kibuye, hari nabi Butare bari bahazanye. Ngeze aha rero ikintu cyitwa zone turquoise cyari muri kiriya gice cy'iwacu cyatumye twebwe jenoside ikorwa igihe kirekire. Jenoside yararambye, intera hamwe zabonye umwanya uhagije wo kwica abantu, zarishe ziriyongeza. Hanyuma umuntu warokokiye muri kiriya gice nawe ni umurami, ni inkirira hato. Ni ukuvuga ngo ntabwo umuntu yasobanura ukuntu yarokokeye muri zone y'Icyangugu. Bagamba iki n'abambari be barabicanyi bo ku rwego rwo hejuru, ubwicanyi babukoze neza bisanzuye, bica abana, bica ababyeyi, bica abakecuru, isi yose mbese barishe barimonogoza. Ubwo twageze Nyarushishi, HCR ikaza ikaduha uduhema tukazingazinga tukajyamo, ikatuzanira n'ibyo kurya Croix Rouge. Hashize itariki 24 z'ukwezi kwa gatandatu, ubu ni wo munsi wacu wa nyuma twagombaga gupfaho. Intera hamwe zaturutse mu makomine yose ya prefecture ya Cyangugu zaje kutwica, zaje kuturimbura. Zarahageze ku bw'amahirwe umuyobozi bavuga menshi yari Lieutenant Colonel, bavuga menshi yari Lieutenant Colonel ashinzwe gendarmerie. Yaraje yirirwa aho ngaho aducunze kuva mu gitondo kugeza nka saa 9, nta wanyoye amazi, dutegereje gupfa turi kureba intera hamwe zatuzengurutse. Abantu benshi baruta bari baraho ngaho. Araza sinzi ukuntu yakoresheje ubuhanga bwe bwa gisirikari, arakumira izo ntera hamwe ntizatwinjiramo. Nka saa 9 zishyira saa 10 Abafaransa bari basesekaye aho ngaho. Abafaransa baraza n'amajipe n'abanyamakuru na za kamera nyinshi na za helikopteri zigwaho ngaho tugira ngo turakize bwahe bwokajye. Abafaransa baraje bigira mu bakobwa baraho barokotse, bafata ku ngufu, bafata mu by'ukuri nta kintu abafaransa bahinduye, baraje n'ubundi interamwe zishaka kutwicamwe abantu bakaza bakanyura ku bafaransa bakababaha bakajya kubica. Twabayeho ngaho mu buzima budafite kirengera tutazi ibintu uko bizarangira. Hanyuma ariko Imana ntabwo ugiyemera ko abantu bayo bapfira gushira. Mu kwezi kwa munani, ahagana mu kwezi kwa munani, twagiye tubona abasigaye batarapfa, tubona inkotanyi zirasesekaye. Dutinda kubyemera, ibyishimo biraturenga, iyo shusho nayo ntijya imvamo. Imodokari, akamodoka k'agahirigisi gahingutse karimwe abasirikari bicaye bateranye imigongo, baraza bahageze binjira mu nkambi, baraduhumuriza, baratubwira ngo utarapfuye utarapfa ntacyo kibaye. Turarokoka duhobera ubuzima. Ibikomere birumvikana ni byinshi, byari byinshi, ibikomere byo ku mutima, ibikomere byo ku mubiri, ariko inkotanyi zihageze twaravugaga ngo ahwi utarapfuye nibura agiye kurokokera mu gihugu kizima, agiye kurokokera mu gihugu kirimo amahoro, agiye kurokokera mu gihugu kitari mu ivangura ryari ryarayogoje abantu. Nageraho rero ngashimira cyane inkotanyi zari zirangajwe imbere na Nyakubahwa Perezida wa Repubulika. Mwarakoze cyane. Ni amateka yacu, nituvuga ngo mwarakoze cyane mujye mubyumva muri sanse y'amateka yacu. Mwarakoze mu izina ryanjye bwite no mu izina rya bagenzi banjye twarokokanye. Kuri iyi nshuro turabashimiye, mwarakoze cyane. Yataba inkotanyi uno munsi nanjye mba ndi mu Rwanda niga na kaminuza, abana banjye mfite abana 4 bariga bose nabahanga, umwana ariyigira agatsinda akajya ku ishuri. Nyakubahwa Perezida wa Repubulika mwarakoze cyane. Twariyubatse, mfite urugo, mfite umuryango, abavandimwe twarokokanye bose nagiye mbashyingira ndabubakira. Ubu mfite abana dufitanye amasano 2. Hari abana mbereye nyirarume nkaba ndi na sekuru, kuko ninjye washyingiye abo bashiki banjye. Ibyo byose nabifatanije n'inkotanyi kwe zitahaba ntaho nari kubikorera. Ubu rero turi amahoro, turi mu gihugu cyiza, ibintu dukesha imiyoborere myiza. Impamvu tuba tuvuga ubu buhamya nk'ubu mvuze ntago ari ukuzura kabuze, ni ukugira ngo abana bacu bamenye ikibi twabayemo, bamenye icyatubayeho, bamenye icyo birinda. Nituvuga ngo never again, abana bumva icyo tuvuze. Nituvuga ngo ibi ntibizongere, abana bumva icyo tuvuze. Nituvuga ngo twamaganye ingengabitekerezo ya jenoside n'igisa nayo cyose cyatuma u Rwanda rusubiraho rwavuye, abana bumva icyo tuvuze. Bana bacu abakiri batoya, igihugu ni icyacu, ntabwo dukwiye kumva amabwire y'abadusenya, ahubwo dukwiye kumva inama z'abatwubaka, tukubaka u Rwanda rwacu rukomeye ruzaramba, abana bacu bakazakomeza kubaho mu gihugu cyiza nk'iki turimo dukesha Nyakubahwa Perezida wa Repubulika. Murakoze cyane, twibuke twiyubaka.
Urakoze Bwana Tonest kudusangiza ibihe bitoroshye mwanyuzemo muri jenoside yakorewe Abatutsi. Mukomere. Mwarakoze kandi kudaheranwa n'agahinda, mukaba muri gufatanya n'abandi banyarwanda kubaka u Rwanda twifuza. Muri aka kanya twagira ngo twakire abanyeshuri bo mu ishuri ry'umuziki rya Nyundo batugezeho indirimbo baduteguriye.
ariko nibaza impamvu kumbura ibintu nk'ibi hariya muri Amerika hari umuntu ubiteka neza speciality ye ni ibiryo nk'ibi ngibi bya Kinyafrika
buriya bahumba ibiryo nk'ibi ngibi
ubutanga bizongere kubaho muri Cheva African Cuisine bateka neza umwihariko nk'uyu nguyu bruschette ibirayi bisize ibitoki ibintu byose bya Kinyafrika ikora muri Texas muri Austin
none sibwo mbishaka byangeraho gute
hari ukujya kubyifatira bikuzanira cyangwa ukajya mu rugo bakagutegurira Cheva African Cuisine igisubizo ku bantu bashaka ibyo bya Kinyafrika kandi bitetse neza.
This is light of remembrance, the light of life. Thank you. Now we're going
reka mukomeze mukurikirane uyu muhango uko wakabaye aho tunari kumwe na bagenzi bacu bari hariya ku rwibutso rwa Kigali nyuma yuko nyakubahwa perezida wa Repubulika Paul Kagame na Madame Jeannette Kagame bahageze. Reka tubareke rero mukurikire igikorwa cyose uko cyakabaye.
Nyakubaha perezida wa Repubulika imiryango y'abarokotse jenoside yakorewe abatutsi ibuka na avega banyarwanda nshuti z'u Rwanda mwaramutse. Nitwa Gatesi Edeni gufasha mu kuyobora gahunda zigiye kubera. Muhawe ikaze hano ku rwibutso aho tugiye gutangirira ibikorwa byo kwibuka Kuncuro 32 jenoside yakorewe abatutsi yiciwemo abarenga miliyoni. Ibikorwa byo kwibuka Kuncuro 32 jenoside yakorewe abatutsi yiciwemo abarenga miliyoni. Hano ku rwibutso haruhukiye imibiri irenga 250 y'abatutsi bishwe muri jenoside yakorewe abatutsi mu 1994. Thank you for joining us as we commemorate and pay respect to more than 1 million lives lost during the genocide against the Tutsi in 1994. Welcome to this memorial site, which is a final resting place to more than 250,000 victims. Nyakubaha perezida wa Repubulika, turatangira dushyira indabo kumva twunamire abishwe muri jenoside yakorewe abatutsi hanyuma hakurikiyeho kwenyegeza urumuri rw'icyizere. Military band igiye kutuyobora muri iki gikorwa. nyakubahwa perezida wa repubulika na madamu twabasaba kwegera imbere mu kunamira abishwe muri jenoside yakorewe abatutsi. Charity Manyeluke, representative of the Diplomatic Corps, may we invite you to step forward and pay your respect. Thank you. Turakurikizaho Perezida wa Ibuka, Bwana Gakwenzire Philbert, na Presidente w'umuryango wa Vega, Madame Manzi Mukarugema Alphonsine. Twabasaba mukegera imbere mu kunamira abishwe muri jenoside yakorewe abatutsi. Let us now observe a moment of silence.
Thank you. Your Excellency, the First Lady, honorable dignitaries, dear Rwandans and friends of Rwanda, good morning. Thank you. Your Excellency, the President of the Republic, dear dignitaries gathered here, Rwandans and friends of Rwanda, good morning. Today, April 7th, it's 32 years after the genocide against Tutsis. We commemorate more than 1 million Tutsis who were killed. We remember our loved ones who were killed. And we remember as we rebuild and express our determination to never let this happen again. Let's stand up for a minute of silence. Remembering is an opportunity to reflect on the dark pages of the history of our country. It's an opportunity to tell history and strengthen our unity and to decide that this should never happen again. Your Excellency, allow me to welcome the Minister of Unity and Civic Engagement, Dr. Bizimana Jean Damascene, for his presentation.
Nyakubaha President.
3 in that of 26 January 2018 that say that every 7th of April annually is the International Day of the Reflection on the Genocide against Tutsis in Rwanda in 1994 around the world. Reflecting on the genocide against Tutsis that was staffed by the RPF Inkotanyi should tell the countries that they have the responsibility to prevent and stopping the genocide as it was decided on the 9th December 1948 by the United Nations in Rwanda between 1990 and 1994. The genocide was planned and was executed, and the international community saw it, but the decisions taken are not honored yet. The UN set up the Ingvar Carlsson Commission, which produced its report on December 15, 1999, and pointed out the failures by the United Nations in Rwanda. It stated like this: the UN played a role in not preventing genocide in Rwanda. Genocide was executed in broad daylight. The member states decided to not have any political will and purposely refused to do anything to stop it. The African Union set up Ketumire Masire Commission, which produced a report on July 7, 2000, and acknowledged the following: genocide in Rwanda was preventable if the international community leaders who had the responsibility to stop it had used their resources, but they lacked the political will. The world failed Rwanda. Some countries apologized. On March 25, 1998, President Bill Clinton and the United States visited Rwanda and admitted their responsibility like this: during the genocide against Tutsis in 1994 in Rwanda, many countries looked the other way until after the genocide some people and organizations expressed their shame for not having done anything to prevent it. On April 7, 2000, Belgium's Prime Minister Guy Verhofstadt apologized to Rwandans for his country's failures. In France, the Duclerc Commission, set up by President Macron on April 5, 2019, issued a report on 26 March 2021, clarifying that country's failures with regards to the genocide against Tutsis in Rwanda. 6.8 said it like this: all Rwandans know that the country has been attacked by the enemy, and those enemy of Rwanda came from Uganda with the intent to exterminate us and to take away the benefits from our 1959 revolution. The war, our war against the enemy from Uganda is not over because the enemy is still on our soil. We have to defeat him and send him where he came from. France's embassy in Rwanda produced a report on Rwanda's plan and acts of exterminating Tutsis. In its report of October 15, 1990, it said this: the Hutu civilians were prepared by MRND and they have increased attacks to kill Tutsis, starting in Kivirira area, and there is evidence that this killing will spread across the country. The only Tutsis that the only thing that Tutsis think could stop this is RPF's victory, and this is impossible. In 1991, General Varey, who was in charge of military cooperation in France, visited Rwanda and met the Colonel Rwagafirita, who were in charge of the police. And that colonel said this: the Tutsis are the minority. We will exterminate them. The gendarme, which is the police, together with the military, will put an end to the Tutsi issue. The women, children, and old people all over the country. And this will take a very short time because there are very few. General Varey produced a report about this, and recently he wrote a book about that. Georges Martre, who was France's ambassador in Rwanda from 1989 to 1993, explained to France's parliament about the planning of the genocide. He said in 1990 it was obvious that there was going to be a genocide. Colonel Serubuga, who was the deputy chief of staff of the Rwandan army, he said he was delighted by the RPF attack because for him this was a good pretext to kill Tutsis. In fact, Tutsis always feared they would be exterminated. Serubuga supported the genocide plan, and he traveled with Habyarimana's advisor, Leo Mugesera, in Ngororero, inciting people to kill Tutsis. This was November 22nd, 1992. Mugesera said this: there are Inyenzis, people who sent their young men and women to join the RPF fighters. Why don't we exterminate those parents? We need to get up and work. Work, Your Excellency, meant killing. And that is the very term President Sindi Kubgabo used on 19th April 1994, inciting people for genocide where he came from in Butare. The genocidal plan originated from President Habyarimana himself. It started with his coming to power. His first political program of August 1st, 1973, said that the governance of the country will be based on ethnicity and regions. So he didn't care about Rwandans' unity. From April 16th to May 6th, 1976, he toured the country, all provinces. The president's office produced a book about this and about the unity of Rwandans. Habyarimana said when it comes to the unity among Hutus and Tutsis, those Tutsis are provoking the Hutus. They should know that in case of unrest, they would be the ones to suffer. Because he said the Hutus are the majority, power belongs to them. On April 28, 1991, Habyarimana, chairing the ruling party's Congress, reiterated the fact that he didn't care about unity, but the unity of his own ethnic group. He said, unity is impossible if the unity of the majority is not achieved. And that unity is the true weapon to annihilate the enemy. He says, like the Tutsi has no support in the region, so it's important that the majority understands they should be united. Otherwise, it will be enslaved again. Create their own political parties to find solutions to the problems facing Hutus. And that's why this General Assembly have decided to create the CDR party. Habyarimana and his party did not support the negotiations with the RPF. Even though he sent his envoys to Arusha, he always opposed the decisions. He undermined his own foreign affairs ministry. On November 5th, 1992, the MRND issued a communique condemning the negotiations. Habyarimana repeated this on November 15th, 1992, in a political rally in Ruhengeri, when he was calling Minister Ngurinzira names, saying, "What is he masquerading with, touting a piece of paper? What kind of peace is that? When the time comes, I will call on my Interahamwe militia and we will get going." That's when Habyarimana called himself untouchable. Then he says he would prevail against criminals and traitors. Criminals, he meant Tutsis, and by traitors, he meant Hutus who were fighting for peace. The government's media was used to turn the opinion against the RPF and against the negotiations. Imvaho number 866 wrote this: "You can't negotiate with people who are shooting at you. These enemies of Rwanda must silence their weapons and go back where they came from. Otherwise, Rwanda's army will push them back by force, bravely, as they've always done from the beginning, and they've proved to be capable of that." Habyarimana supported the creation of RTLM radio, which shared resources with Radio Rwanda. They gave RTM the technicians, good technicians, and good journalists who were instrumental in hatred-based messaging. The RTLM was connected to the power generator in the president's office, and Habyarimana is the one who had the most shares in that radio. Habyarimana also started military training for Interahamwe militia in Gabiro. It was in a report dated September 29th, 1991, by Colonel Nsabimana, who was head of the military in Mutara. He said that 1,760 weapons were distributed in 4 communes in Byumba, Muhurangarama, Bwisige, Muvumba, and this was continued. And November 5th, 1993, UNAMIR issued a communique saying that, a report saying that Habyarimana chaired a meeting at Rebero Hotel and said that they've been distributing grenades, machetes among Interahamwe Imhuza Mugambi militias. December 6, 1990, Habyarimana, visiting his army in Gabiro, promised them to avenge their friends who fell on the battleground. Many newspapers, including Kangura, Nyiramachibiri, Zirikana, used this statement to call for extermination of Tutsis.
Issue number 6 of Zirikana wrote as following: "No military man should fight while the accomplices are behind him. We should be ready to exterminate all the accomplices. After that, go after the Inyenzi." Colonel Rwagafirita was the owner of that newspaper, Zirikana. On the 4th of December 1991, Habyarimana created a commission of 10 senior officers headed by Colonel Baragisora, and this commission was to study how to defeat the enemy. The report said that the enemy of Rwanda was the Tutsi. Then there was a report by Colonel Nsabimana of 21st September 1992, and he said that this report should be disseminated in all military camps, and the soldiers should be sensitized to this. And on the 27th of July 1992, Colonel Anatole Sengi Yumva, head of military intelligence, wrote to Habyarimana that the army was ready to exterminate the called Hutu Power, factions of extremists, on the 23rd of October 1993. The national media and others affiliated to them spread the hate. Ijambo, issue 62, said the following: the Tutsis should be gathered together, bombs should be thrown at them, they should be burnt as they did to the Hutus. Take the number of the Hutus who were killed in Burundi, multiply that by 2, and kill the Tutsis in that number. It is when the Tutsis will be cut into pieces and thrown into a Kanyero River that they will recognize that Hutus are also human beings. Lieutenant Colonel Jacques Albert, who was advisor to the army, explained to the prosecution in Belgium that genocide was a plan of the Rwandan armed forces. He did that on the 5th of May 1994. He said this: I was invited to the home of General Sabimana with the ambassador of Belgium. We found there Augustin Bizimana, the head of Minister of Defense, and President Habyarimana. Minister Bizimana told me that he was ready to send the military to complete the work. 10 days before the shooting down of the airplane, that was the last Friday of March 1994, my colleague Colonel Venser invited Colonel General Sabimana and Colonel Kabiligi. Those senior officers reiterated that the peace accord was not going to be put into practice, and that if it was imposed on them, they were going to exterminate the RPF, and that this would not take them more than 15 days. He said they meant what they were saying. Mr. President, warning signs that the genocide was being prepared were many, and they were ignored. Even today, the Congolese refugees who have been 33 years in exile are being enrolled. They have been expelled by FDLR and those who constitute armed groups that came from Rwanda. But the UN has taken many resolutions saying that FDLR is a terrorist organization that had to be disbanded. Resolution 1804 said the following: deploring the persistent violation against human rights and international law by the FDLR, ex-FAR, Interahamwe, and other armed groups in the Eastern DRC. We demand that they lay down their arms immediately and unconditionally, and that they be sent to their country of origin. We call upon all the countries who are members of the United Nations to take all necessary measures to stop monetary and material support that is being given by their citizens or given on their territory towards FDLR, ex-FAR, and Interahamwe and other armed groups from Rwanda and present on the territory of the Democratic Republic of Congo, whether that is done for them or in their interest. All this was done intentionally. What FDLR is doing, that while MONUSCO is watching, just as it was happening while UNAMIR was watching. The leaders of Congo are continuing to call for hate like that was being done in between 1990 and 1994. In August 98, Minister Yerodi Abdoulaye Ndombasi of Congo, who was the foreign minister, said that the Tutsis were vermin that had to be eradicated. On the 19th of July 2023, MP Justin Batakwira said that Tutsis are intrinsically killers. On the 31st of May 2024, the head of the Mai Mai group, Benoit Mokombatia, said that a true Tutsi is a killed Tutsi. A true Tutsi is one taken to the cemetery. On the 4th of July, 2024.
Allow me to welcome one of the genocide survivors, Mr. Ngironsanga Teonest. Your Excellency, the President of the Republic and the First Lady, I thank you for this opportunity so I can share my journey of pain and the ordeal I had to suffer in 1994. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Ngironsanga Teonest. I was born in the former Kyangugu prefecture in Gafunzo commune, Shangi sector, in Gasharu cell. Today, those areas are called Shangi, Nyamasheke district in the western province. Your Excellency, a little before the genocide, Tutsi families, including mine, where I come from, we lived on fear more than anything. That was the situation. It was really bad. In 1964, my grandpa, Muvugabegui, was killed. And he was thrown in Kivu, Lake Kivu. And a little before the genocide, my father's cousins who lived in Mururu, when the CDR president died, their houses were destroyed and they fled in Kyango Cathedral. And we were in schools and we were persecuted. Schoolmates would persecute us. The teachers too. They said, your king has attacked the country, but you will pay the price. So we lived in fear. We knew, we could feel that something bad was being in the works. So the trigger became Habyarimana's death, and it all started on April 7th, 1994. We woke up and we could listen to the radio, and we heard that Habyarimana was killed, was dead. My father was a teacher. He called his brothers and sisters, and he said, the only thing that comes next is our death, so let's flee. So he said, we're going to spread. We're not going together. So I'm the one who left with my father, with my elder brother. So he headed to Mukoma, where he taught school. So we went, and on the 9th, we were at ADPR church. All Tutsis from the area were gathered there. And upon our arrival, the church leaders came and kicked us out. They said, we don't want Tutsi blood to be shed inside their church. They said, you should go and find somewhere to go on those hills. So my father looked me in the eyes, and today I understand because I have kids too. He said goodbye. Go to your aunt who was in that area in Mukoma. So I left. When I looked back at him, he raised his hand and waved goodbye. We never saw him again. We went to our aunt, and we noticed that their house had been destroyed. The main house had been destroyed. We spent the night in their small house, in the kitchen, with my cousins. The next day, Nerahamwe found us and took us to where they had gathered women and children. And the men had been running all around. On the 12th, there was what we called kadode, and people who were saying that Tutsis should go to the sector's office. So
would go and take those cows. And in the morning, that's what they did. They probably forgot that they had asked us to remain there. They ran to take the cows and forgot us. And they ran. And we also ran towards the church. We were passing through the fields and not through a conventional path. The gendarmes stopped us. Their role was not to protect people, but to control them. And the killers also, who had run for the cows, also came. It couldn't happen as fast as they wished. The sous-prefet Munyangabe Theodore from our area came to organize a meeting. And he said that the Interahamwe keep coming because we are resisting. He said, if we don't resist, they will not come back. He chose some people, including 50 businessmen. He took them in a vehicle, took them to the stadium in Cyangugu. We remained confused, without a leader, without knowing anything to do. They took all the weapons, even traditional ones. Even a baton was taken. The following day, an attack came and more than 200 people were killed. But then there was really a massive attack. One Interahamwe from Bugarama called Yusuf came with Interahamwe on board buses, about 6 buses. Those Interahamwe were armed with traditional weapons and guns. They were killing without any mercy. They killed people throughout the whole evening. Actually, that's the day when, in my area, in Shangi, we organized the memorial evening. People screamed, people cried, people were killed like cattle in an abattoir. They used clubs whose heads were encrusted with nails. Some of us who didn't die that evening were only saved by a brother who was an electrician. He went and switched off the power. And then they were unable to know who to kill and who not to kill. I personally survived in the church. I was on the altar. People fell on top of me. Those who fell on top of me were all killed. You would push a body and find that they have no head. I can't tell you how much blood I drank. I was pulled, and when I was pulled, the skin of my legs was peeled off. I went and hid in a cupboard, and again, in the morning at 5 a.m., the Interahamwe came and killed those who had survived until 8. Then it was announced that the killing should stop so that the bodies could be buried. So they took a break. They stopped people going to the market to come and help dispose of the bodies. They were saying that they were taking people to the Red Cross. There was a huge pit that was used for composting at the school. And they were telling us it's the Red Cross that was treating people. They were saying, even those with a small wound, please come, you'll get treated by the Red Cross. Look, I'm a survivor. I was also taken to that pit. I was taken from the cupboard to somewhere on the side of the church. I sat with some women, and as they were carrying those bodies, they came back to me, and they said, "Search whether there are no boys among those women." They found me with 8 others. They took off our clothes, and they asked Kamanutse, a young man who was in the same school as me. He had a spear. They asked him, "Have you ever killed someone?" He said, "No." They said, "Take this one, take him to the pit. Once you get there, pierce him with your spear and throw him into the pit. So he took me. I witnessed at that moment how a young boy was taken from the back of the mother, and he was hit on the wall, and the brain was shattered. They asked me to go and bury that child. So as Kamanutse was carrying me, taking me, I asked him, Kamanutse, I was with you in school. Are you going really to kill me? He said, you will die. I'll kill you because you Tutsis are meant to die. When we arrived at that pit, the things I saw are incredible. Somebody could be in the process of being killed by 20 people. Machetes, spears, some people